Art Hackney, CEO of Hackney Hackney Incorporated Political Consulting. You know, the most important consideration that I worked into my thoughts on what makes people win awards is to look at Stanley Foster Reed, the founder of the awards and of the magazine. I mean, two words: intellectual curiosity. This is a man who studied history, studied science, studied cooking, studied language, you know, you name it. Of course, studied politics, studied government. That kind of intellectual curiosity is what makes people have the broad scope to understand what they're doing when they try to impact a political campaign. So it's what I encourage everybody to do. I mean, the ones that I see do the best work are the people who've got that intellectual curiosity. I mean, and frankly, I think it's good for your health. I mean, he was born in 1917 and lived for 90 years. So there's a lot to be said for intellectual curiosity. But I think it's a smart thing in politics. You know, we have things that I'm sure are called negative. I don't consider them to be negative. I mean, we try very scrupulously to do what we call hard-hitting spots that, you know, lay the facts bare. You know, and sometimes that's a brutal business. You know, when you've got somebody who says, "I did this, I did that," and your answer is to say, "Well, you know, here's what they said, here's what they did," and it's not the same thing. And that's classified as negative. I don't consider it to be negative. A good contrast is not a negative ad. It varies. I mean, humor is a very, very dicey. You have to choose it very carefully because humor is something that people have, you know, a lot of different takes on as to what they find funny. And there's a lot of people who misuse humor, and getting it right is a real art form. I use it a lot. I use it more, I think, in a slice of life humor where you can deliver a negative. So, for example, where you know, you find a candidate. I mean, one of our winners last year was our opponent had gone and gotten a group to provide most of his funding, and so we start out with saying, you know, Lieutenant Governor Sean Parnell made a deal with the devil, and then you go on to say what that is, but you get people's attention, and it's humorous. Makes people smile, makes them laugh at your opponent, but it's pretty safe humor. Really just sort of trying to be funny humor, that's hard stuff because people have such differences. Safest thing to me in politics is what very few people use because they like the bells and whistles and all the fancy computers. The best thing there ever has been that I've ever seen is real people on the street. You can go get real people, capture them, get them to say things that deliver the message you want. You didn't script it, you got them to say it. That stuff wins every time, always does. Depends on which area of the business you want to get into. I mean, most of you young guys are getting into all this data mining and all that. The one thing I'd say is it still matters to understand the world, to not be closeted in a room and just know how all the machines work. You've got to know how the world's work. I mean, no matter what, somewhere out there's a reason why when you show you know, mom an apple pie, there's something that triggers something inside of people. I mean, you've got to know the context of the elections that you're working in, even to make the new technologies work, in my opinion.